Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, November 24th, 2024, and this is the Weekend Roundup.
Just bleed, just bleed radio. Whoa, just bleed radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the show, the big show. Back once again, the show that knows no limits, no muzzles, no leashes, just four wild dogs off the chain, uninhibited and unfettered, non-neutered and full of piss and vinegar. Speaking of piss and vinegar, hopefully those aren't ingredients in your mashed potatoes, as we wish everyone stateside an early happy Thanksgiving. This is the Weekend Roundup, episode 31, brought to you with promotional consideration provided by absolutely fucking nobody. We are available for purchase, however. All we require to do our jobs is a small one-time fee of fuck you money, just like John Jones. Anyways, I hope you had a large coffee and a baggie full of unidentified white powder because we were up into the wee hours of the morning for UFC Fight Night Jan versus Figueiredo.
This is crack, rock cocaine. It isn't glamorous or cool or kid stuff. It's the most addictive kind of cocaine, and it can kill you. What's really bad is nobody knows how much it takes. So every time you use it, you risk dying. It isn't worth it. Look, everybody wants to be cool, but doing it with crack isn't just wrong. It could be dead wrong.
Live from the Galaxy Arena in Macau, China. If you didn't watch or you just decided to sleep through it, don't worry because you've come to the right place. So before we get stuck into things, help out the algorithm by slapping that thumbs up and pounding the subscribe button. Numbers aren't numbering the way we want them to, so do your boys a solid and spread the word. Now then, what would a trip to the Orient be without my day one A1 road dogs by my side? Let's bring in the crew that helps us do what it do. He's half man, half mouse, and he's got half a mind to unleash holy hell on any harebrained half-wits. But he's full throttle and full bore when it matters most, whether that's serving up a full English breakfast or a full-fledged ass whooping. DangerMouse, how's things in God's country on this fine Sunday?
They're pretty good. It's a bit wet and a bit rainy, but other than that, it's not too bad. I had the strangest urge there to say back once again for the Renegade Master on that intro. But yeah, other than that, I'm pretty cool.
Well, I don't know what that means, but I'll take it.
I'll have to give Dave the clip so he can put it in.
Once again for the Renegade Master.
All right, well, not to be outdone or outsmarted, it's our outstanding West Coast correspondent. Out for the gusto, but never out for the count. He spends his days in the trenches and in the field, but he's always in the know with the latest inside info. Our outlandish outlaw, the infamous institution. What is good and beautiful California, Mr. No Special?
Yes, it rained also here. No, not to sound specific as well, but not bad. It was interesting 3 a.m. fights for me. Always fun. Also had to work yesterday, so it's great times. Great times to be alive.
Oh, very good, very good. And no show is complete without the hardest hitting, hard working hardheads in the room. Soft spoken and soft hearted, maybe, but it's hardly JBR without 'em. Put it together for these three, the production team Dave, Chatri, and Steven.
Hi, guys.
All right, well, that's the introductions out of the way. So, how about we get into a little bit of fight talk? This weekend, the UFC went wheels up to Macau, China, back for the fourth time overall and the first since 2014. That last trip 10 years ago featured two men in the main event that would find themselves on opposite ends of the spectrum just a decade later. One, Michael Bisping, as a commentator and employee of the UFC, and the other as the primary complainant in the recently settled class action lawsuit against the UFC, Kung Lee. Here in 2024, there would be different names on the marquee, but let's start here with the main card opener and work our way up. First up, Chinese light heavyweight, the Mountain Tiger, Mingyang Zhang, put his 10 consecutive wins, 10 consecutive finishes streak on the line against 2022 Contender Series flunky Ozzy Diaz. Zhang, who at only 26 has an impressive 23 career bouts, hadn't seen a second round since 2018, and it wouldn't have made any sense to break that streak now. Violent and sudden finish via a cheeky step-in elbow and some follow-up shots. Easy money if you had wagers placed on this one. As a natural foe of cats, any thoughts on the Mountain Tiger, DangerMouse?
Yeah, this was a fun fight, as you said. The first one on the main card. That stepping elbow was absolutely beautiful. It looked like it was going to be a bit of a jab, and he just curled the arm over and turned it into an elbow as Diaz stepped in and knocked him down. It didn't take him very long to just jump on top, and Diaz just ended up curling up in a ball on the floor. The Mountain Tiger looks right up to his name. He looks deadly. He looks like an absolute killer. I know it's that kind of Chinese, no emotion on the face kind of thing that's very common with Asian fighters. But he looks an absolute beast. I can't wait to see him get a decent fight. I believe on his first one, he actually called out Powhatan and said he wanted to fight him. I think he'll have to wait a couple more before he gets a crack at him. But yeah, I'd love to see it. That could be a fun fight.
Yeah, man, he's really good. I enjoy him, and yeah, like he does have that. He's got that stone cold killer look. I think I
Yeah.
was saying it actually when we were rewatching the fights together. That yeah, you could just tell by looking at that guy. Even if you've seen him on the streets, that guy can fight.
Yeah.
He's just got that vibe all about him, all over his face.
Yeah,
All right, well, what's that now?
No, I was just going to say he started off the main card in a really nice way there with the finish.
Yeah, yeah, especially for the home crowd. You know, a little bit of something to rile him up. Local guy. I guess as local as you could say for a country as big as China. uh, how about you, Austin? Any big takeaways from this small sample size of Zhang Ming Yang?
No, I mean, it's not out of the question that you could get a lot out of this guy. I mean, let's just say can crushing is, a part of the regional scene, I would say. So this isn't, this is kind of like par for the course a little bit, but for him. But I'm still interested to see how he can kind of show up. Light heavyweight definitely needs the bodies for sure. So why not add another dangerous killer in there who can maybe flop for the minute he faces a top 10 opponent? Who knows?
Just
Yeah,
waiting for
hell
any
yeah.
minute now to where John Bones Jones will be calling him out.
No, don't put this in the ether. We can't afford any more delays.
He's not nearly old enough for John.
True.
This guy is way too spry and youthful. Was that all you had on him, Austin, there?
No, it's just he looked good. Look good. I mean, the opponent. It was the opponent. This is what you should be doing with guys like him. Like we just had a whole thing with Bo Nickel, like acting like he fucking ran circles around fucking Paul Craig, right? Guys only had 7 fights. This guy's had 10. It's a weight class up, and he's showing that he's capable of beating lesser opponents fairly easily. So I would say just let him get a couple more fights in before we actually start pushing him against the topper echelon of this division. Because God forbid, what do we say every time? Do not push the prospect to the point to where he can't develop. Right now, we just need him to just do the thing.
Let me catch you there, because I don't know whose record you're looking at, but you must be looking at the wrong record. This guy's got 26 fights.
Oh, you're right. My apologies.
Okay.
I pulled a casual. My apologies. Yes. I was looking at the wrong record. God damn it.
I figured, yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah. My initial statement was just Can Crusher, so I'll just go off of that. No, just keep him busy. It wouldn't hurt to give him like 2 or 3 more fights next year, and then after that, just throw him into the upper echelon as best as you can. I mean, you said he was only 26, but
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. 20. Did I say he has 26 bouts? I apologize. He has 23 bouts. He is 26 years old.
Okay.
okay,
So yeah, that's a lot.
yeah, I was
Lot of,
confused by what was happening.
yeah.
Well,
Yes.
26 is well young enough to continue on and
Yeah.
get a few more fights at light heavyweight. It's not like the division is,
That's usually, yeah, yes,
ranked with tons of talent or anything.
Yep.
no, exactly.
Yeah. Line up some fucking bodies and let him knock him down like corkboard over the next year, and then if he's still on this streak around, when he's like 27, leading towards 28 years old, he ought to be in prime position to make a run towards the top if he's still on this sort of trajectory that he's on right now. Because, like you guys were saying, this guy's a fucking beast, man. He's just fucking laying these guys out. I was saying it when we were rewatching these, in a sense, he's almost like a light heavyweight Tom Aspinall in the fact that he's not even getting out of the first round with these fucking guys. Like, I don't remember how many it was, but it's over a dozen fights where he hasn't made it out of the first round.
Yeah,
Just
all his finishes, I believe, have come in the first round.
yeah, he's fucking annihilating these guys. Now, granted, I've also said before he is kill or be killed. He can be stopped. He does have 6 losses on his record, but you know, tough fucking dude. And I think if you are the UFC, and I always say this when I see a guy that looks like this, he's a big fucking unit. He's a specimen. He's knocking guys out. He's exciting. He's giving Dana those holy shit moments that he likes to say he sells. And he's got a marketable look, and he's from a region that they're always looking to tap into. So this is a guy that you want to run with in the Mountain Tiger. So uh, I also just wanted to reiterate a thing that I've said before on previous shows. I want to see the Mountain Tiger, Zhang Ming Yang, against Bogdan Guskov, the Anthony Smith doppelganger. Those two would put on a hell of a fucking fight. Guskov is scheduled against somebody, so let him fucking get this win under his belt. Whoever he's facing next, I'm pretty positive he's going to beat him. So line those two up. I would love to see them two go at it.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Surefire fireworks.
I don't think this guy's going to bring anything other than fireworks,
Yeah.
at least for
Yeah.
the foreseeable future, anyway.
Well, speaking of fireworks, that's a decent little transition. It wasn't exactly a fire show in the next fight, but it was a pretty good scrap. We stayed at light heavyweight. We had Swiss timekeeper No Time Volkan Ozdemir making his return to the octagon after KOing Johnny Walker back in June to face pound for pound most handsome man in the UFC, City Kickboxing's Carlos Ulberg. The Blackjack Ulberg had made quick work of his most recent opponents, rattling off 6 wins in a row, but would he bulldoze a crafty vet like Ozdemir? Survey says not exactly. Back and forth affair, but the nod would go the way of the Anzac fighter Carlos Ulberg. Some success for Vulcan at times, but nothing too notable. At 34 years old, Blackjack may be on the tail end of his 9 lives, but right now he seems to be on a title trajectory. Any takeaways from this light heavyweight tussle? No special?
It's interesting because we kind of figured Carlos Ulberg was already in talks for the next contendership, and then after the whole light heavyweight debacle that happened as of late, um, they've kind of pushed him back a little bit. And that's kind of interesting because we saw him actually struggle and have to kind of think on his feet, have to kind of adapt to a dangerous combatant in or opponent in Vulcan. And realistically, this was kind of like a resurgence for Vulcan coming into this fight. Like he looked good against, Johnny Walker, but it's not hard to look good against Johnny Walker, to be honest. But it's one of those things where you're kind of like, all right, well, let's see what he got. And it was a great fight. I mean, it wasn't the most impressive, most action-packed fight, but Vulcan pushed him. And the last time we see Ulberg pushed, he kind of looked like he just didn't know what to do. This time, he was actually having to counter, set up traps, and consistently keep him on the back foot. And most of it was like Vulcan just kind of kept the course, just kept pressuring him, kept trying to cut off the cage, actually put him on the back foot a decent amount of times. Hell, if Vulcan actually just looked for a takedown or two, he might have actually won the fight. But I think it's one of those things where it's like Carlos got the got the nod because I thought he was the rightful winner. But this was a good test. We've seen him go the distance, and this is light heavyweight. We need to know that you're just not a one trick pony, right? We need to know
Yeah.
that you can actually adapt. The hard thing would be, is he next in line? No, that's should be Ankalaev. But we know the UFC does some wacky shit sometimes. So I mean, it'd be an entertaining fight to see against Potan. But I mean, I think we needed to see this from Vulcan anyways. So this was a good test for, Olberg, but I still have a little bit more questions, but not a bad fight. Not a bad fight.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a good showing from Vulcan to prove, he's not washed yet. He's still got, tread on the tires left. He could still be in fun competitive fights. And, for Olberg, 34 is a bit old to be, he's not inexperienced. I don't want to say that, but he doesn't have a ton of fights under his belt. So that could work in his favor, though. He doesn't have a lot of MMA miles. That's a positive at his size. But yeah. Danger Mouse, you got any thoughts on this bout at 205?
Yeah, not a huge amount to add. I didn't bother rewatching it. I watched it obviously last night with everybody, and I rewatched most of the fights this afternoon. I didn't bother with that one just because it was a decision, and I thought we were mainly focusing on the finishes, which there were plenty of in this card. Yeah, look very good. Ozdemir did manage to steal the last round, according to the judges. Looking at what's ahead for Ulberg, that's put him up to, I think it's number 8. He's now, he shouldn't, Ozdemir was number 8 in the rankings. So Ulberg should take his place. I guess that lines up a possible fight with maybe Khalil Roundtree or Nikita Krylov. They're both tied up at number 6 in the ratings at the moment. I guess versus Khalil could be a fun fight. Other than that, yeah, I haven't given it a lot of thought, to be honest.
Yeah, those would be fun fights. Khalil is a name that I've heard kicked around at a few different places, and I wouldn't mind that fight at all. I think another possibility, if they do want to give him a bit of a jump up the rankings some, maybe the winner of the recently announced Yuri Prohashka Jamal Hill fight.
Oh, Hill. That's a big jump. That's taking him up to either second or third.
Yeah.
And he's still
But
out. He's just in the top 10 at the moment. I might be more suggested to pick him a fight somewhere between the top, whoever's in 5th place up to
yeah,
the
yeah.
10th place. Not give him a top 5 fight.
You might as well take that fight, because if he's already there, I mean, the hell, they gave the opportunity to Khalil Roundtree off a win streak. And I mean, this would be a good situation for him if Ankalaev is the next guy in line, which you would
Yeah.
hope is the case. You don't want him to face guys that aren't on momentum streaks as well. Like if he was facing Ankalaev, take that fight, because then you don't have to. You're pretty much jumping the line anyways. Like if he's taking the winner of Jamal Hill, Jerry Prochaska, he jumps the line anyways. Like take that. You need to move
yeah,
up.
and
You can't.
the whole reason that I brought that up, actually, that I mentioned the Jamal Hill possibilities, because they were already scheduled to fight. Remember back in June.
Yep. And they pulled what was it? They pulled him because they couldn't get anything together, right?
Yeah.
Like
And then it became
multiple-
Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
And then
With
I
Khalil.
think,
Oh no,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So yeah, that was part of the whole light heavyweight fuck up that they had going on earlier this year. So I don't know. He's got possibilities, put it that way, and he's in prime position to make a run should he, choose to.
Yeah, what do you say? 34, did you say he is?
Yeah, 34.
Yeah, he's got enough time, I guess, at light heavyweight.
Yeah, light heavyweight's a little different. It's like heavyweight.
And that's a good looking 34, maybe. He didn't get the finish, but he's still a knockout.
Yeah.
All right. After that, it was time for the return of the Joker, undefeated flyweight, and I'm gonna say this the way that they told me to say it. Wong Tong put her O on the line against Brazil's Gabriela Fernandez. Tong made a lasting impression on fans in her UFC debut back in August, where she demanded a main card spot after KOing Tomato Can Victoria Leonardo. She gets her request here in this matchup against Fernandez. Well, you might be asking, why so serious? Probably because she's regretting that request. The Joker's permanent grin turned into a frown as she becomes the biggest upset loser of the morning. A vicious kick to the neck, a solid left, and that was all it took for Fernandez to jump the back and snatch the RNC. A quick derailment of whatever hype train she was building towards a potential Valentina match, a rematch rather. Now, DM, what did you think of this finish from Gabriela Fernandez? Was it more Wong overlooking her opponent and drinking her own Kool-Aid, or was this a jump up for Fernandez?
Yeah, I think well, obviously it was a surprise win because Wang Tong was in at, according to the UFC, minus 1,050 odds, whereas I think Gabriela Fernandez was at minus 675 or something. Sorry, plus 675 or something like that. Biggest favorite on the night was Wang Tong. As you said, 6-0 record, and everybody knows I never bet against the O, so I did have my money on Wang Tong on this one. And as you said, yeah, there was another solid head kick, which definitely rattled Tong a little bit. And then she stepped into that sweet left hook I've put down in my notes. And yeah, it went to the ground. And as you said, Fernandez was straight onto that rear naked choke, rolled her over, was on top of it. And I think she must have passed out slightly when the ref stopped it. She came around pretty quickly. Hugely emotional story from Gabriella at the end, talking about her father dying and her sister dying and her having to live in the gym for 10 months. I have no idea what to suggest for Gabriela Fernandez because she was such an underdog on this fight. Whereas Wang Tong, it's only her 7th fight. She's got enough time at any rate to get back into it and maybe make another challenge for the belt. Yeah, beautiful submission. I mean, Michael Bisping was talking about it for the entire kind of first round. He was saying you can't take an opponent lightly. If you do, you're going to end up making a mistake, and that's exactly what happened. 10 out of 10 for Michael Bisping on the commentary there. Yeah, so Gabriela Fernandez, I'm just going to have a quick look. I don't think she's not ranked, is she? I'm just going to have a quick
No, I
look.
don't think so. No.
Neither was the
Yeah,
loser.
Wang Tong. Yeah. No, so yeah, I guess another fight of some description for Wang Tong. Give her another one to push her towards the top 15 again, and for Gabriella, just another fight. I guess I can't really say much else because I don't know enough about her to say anything else.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Just the to me, it felt like what started as confidence for Tong quickly turned into cockiness, and she just got a little bit too loose in there because she was having some real success and she was looking sharp, man. She looked great, but got a little bit too loose on the defensive end, and that's when you get caught, and we see what happens. So, no special. Same question to you. Thoughts on the fight, and then what was this an oversight for on the part of Wong Tong? Kind of overlooking her opponent's capabilities, or was this just a jump in skill and capabilities for Fernandez?
That's an interesting question. Because the experience you would say goes to Wong Tong, right? I mean, granted, a majority of it is in kickboxing, right? She has a win over Valentina.
Yeah,
It's a weird one because you kind of assume this was just kind of another layup, gimme fight for Wong Tong, but at the same time, she played with her food. What did your parents always say? Don't play with your food. And this isn't the reason why you don't play with your food, but she was lighting her up on the feet, and she was very confident, almost to the point to where she was kind of ignoring the dangers coming back at her. Maybe she was listening to everyone talk about her as oh my god, she's like a threat at flyweight. She has a win over Valentina. Maybe she was drinking a little bit of Kool Aid, but that's okay. You're supposed to be confident. This is a combat sport. If you're not confident, what the hell are you doing? Um, she gave openings though. I mean, hell, that head kick, she was just defiantly open and allowing strikes to come back at her, right? And then she got followed up with the counter. I just put her straight on her ass and then just got immediately mounted. If you're going to say one thing about Fernandez, she opportunistic grappler. Like by far one of the best counters that I've seen to just, hey, counter drop and immediately mounting that choke just came in beautifully. She got the hook in, like just mwah, like chef's kiss.
yeah,
And realistically, this is like a perfect opportunity for this division. You have people coming up now. I mean, hell, what was it? That girl that beat Veronica Hardy the last show.
Oh
I
yeah, Eduardo Mora.
Yeah,
Or not.
that'd be the perfect
What the fuck?
opportunity for her to fight.
I called her Eduardo. That's not her first name.
We knew who you were talking about. That we knew who you were talking about. That's the point.
Yeah, Rondina. They call her Rondina.
Yes,
Whatever.
that'd be a perfect matchup for her. And then as far as Kong, this is why I miss Joe Silva as much of an asshole as he was. Winners versus winners, losers versus losers. You know, the most easiest way to do matchmaking is to just match up winners with momentum against other winners with momentum. Losers, depending on how they've lost or when they've lost, match them up together. Someone's got to win. You know,
Yeah.
the best part about this fight was that it just shows again why we like this sport. Doesn't matter how much of a favorite you are, you can always lose. You know, just given the opportunity.
Yep. Yeah. Especially in the women's divisions, man. The favorites lose so often. Like, if I was a
Yep.
gambler, a degenerate gambler like the main card minute, I would be very scared every time I put money on a women's fight, to say the least.
Slime Mouse is always scared to choose.
I'm surprised he didn't have a couple of bucks on Fernandez at those odds, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm pretty sure, I'm not positive, but I want to say Gaff and Luke both had their money on Wong Tong. I mean, that's how big of a favorite she was. Like, I was saying it, like she probably busted so many parlays. I mean, because she was such a big favorite. Nobody's gonna bet her solo, so they would have bundled her in there. Oh my, you would have thought it was a lock of the night, but yeah. Just to kind of echo some of the things you guys said, a real kick in the teeth for Wong. Like, the thing that made her stand out, that kind of brashness and arrogance and the bravado that she had with the whole character, it's now the thing that bites her in the ass after getting finished like that, because all the memes and the YouTube shorts that are gonna live from the pre-fight antics with the Joker paint and all that shit, that stuff's gonna fucking last for your entire career. Even if you go on and become a champion, somebody's gonna trudge up those clips of you getting finished after that shit. So it's double-edged sword, because it's oftentimes it's what the people want. They want some sort of character, but then when that character eats shit, they rub it in their face. So
Yeah.
tough loss. But yeah, she could bounce back though. First loss, still young in her career. She could definitely bounce back. Okay, well, from the ladies 125 to men's 170, we move it to the welterweight division. Double-digit UFC fight veteran Song Kanan took on 40-year-old Kung Fu Panda Muslim Sadikov. Kanan was 2-2 in his last 4, identical for Salikov with 2 wins, 2 losses. Couple of older journeymen with mediocre records here, but a fight that produced better than mediocre results. Spinning heel kick KO 349 into round 1 for Salikov, becoming the only person in UFC history with 2 spinning heel kick KOs. Good to see the old man Muslim get the leg up there and connect flush to the noggin. 40 years old and still winging them things. Absolutely bonkers. What did you think of this highlight reel finish, Austin?
I mean, what's that thing? What's the saying? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. It doesn't need to if he can still knock you out with the old shit.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, the truth of the matter is that like this was kind of like a 50-50 fight, and it was looking that way. You know? I mean, Salikov was just kind of like letting him kind of set the pace. And honestly, it was kind of looking bad for Salikov, but at the same time, like you knew he was going to throw the head, like the spinning head kick. Like you knew it was going to come eventually. And the first time he lands it, he fucking knocks him out with it. You know, like it just goes to show you can't sleep on anybody, even if the guy is 40 years old and probably shouldn't be past it by now. But hey, he wants to keep fighting, let him keep fucking fighting. But at the same time, it's kind of a detriment to the division because we got guys like this who can kind of hang around and just kind of be present in the division. I mean, look at Wonderboy, right? Specialist, although he's an extremely good specialist. Is welterweight's kind of one of those the perfect mix of the division where it's like the specialist can still exist and you still like age is kind of like doesn't hinder you because most of these guys aren't super massive, like middleweights and the heavyweights, or athletes specifically. The guys who are just average fighters, this is a good example of what this division is. Is it the best? No, but it's still fun, and you got specialists who can kind of go out there and still fucking knock people out with a spinning get kick, regardless of how they were looking prior.
Yeah. Oh god, Song Kanan's gonna feel like a total fucking asshole because he spent the entire camp being told to watch out for that fucking spinning kick.
He literally was doing everything right, and then still let it happen.
God, like, bro, that's his fucking signature move. How did you get hit with that? All right. Well, how about you, Mouse? So, what are your thoughts on the Salikov knockout?
Yeah, well, this was the one fight that was spoilt for me. I managed to avoid all the results yesterday and just saw that Salikov had won by spinning wheel kick. So I went into the fight watching it. I knew the result. I had picked Kanan mainly because I'd misread the odds on the fight. If I'd known Salikov was like minus 200, I would have picked him. But I didn't. Yeah, absolutely fantastic kick. As you just said, we were talking about it last night. He had one job to watch for. He had one strike that he really had to watch for. And that's the one that took him out, which is awfully embarrassing. But as you say, don't fear a man with 1,000 kicks. Fear the man with one kick that he's practiced 1,000 times, and that
Yeah.
seems to have been the case in this one. Beautiful, beautiful finish. The follow-up ground and pound completely unnecessary. It was out cold by the time he hit the ground. Yeah, and as you said, the only guy to have. Oh, I don't know if you said that actually or not. He's the only guy in the UFC with 2 spinning head kick KOs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did say this. You did.
It is, yeah. I wasn't 100% sure.
That's
It's in my notes. I should have known because mine and Lazy's notes are generally very, very similar. Yeah, I mean, fantastic result. What can you say? I mean, the guy's 40 years old. I mainly would have picked him against him because of his age, but in this time it turned around. And you've just mentioned the other guy. I know we talked about it last night. Wonderboy Thompson. Get these two in the
yeah.
cage together. Let's have a good kicking battle between these two guys. It'll be a fun fight. It's not going to hurt anyone too much. Let them go. Let's have some fun fights in the. Thompson deserves a fun fight of all the people in the UFC. Salikov would be a danger. I think it'd be an entertaining fight. So yeah, that's all. That's all I can really go on this one. Very disappointed that Kanan lost, obviously, but it is what it is. Fantastic result. It's another one of the. I know we're going to get onto it later. There's another better KO on this fight, but purely a contender for for KO of the year for that spinning kick. That was beautiful. You can't say anything more about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not sure if it's KO of the night, but it's one of the KOs of the night. That's for sure.
yeah, one of the few nights where it wouldn't be KO the night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the other kick that you were just mentioning. But yeah, man, like I was gonna ask you guys your thoughts on that. The Wonder Boy call out. Like I think that's a perfect matchup. I would love to see that. Because Steven, at this point in his career, he deserves a guy that's not gonna bother trying to take him down. Like let him get in there and fucking do his thing. Couple of 40-year-old strikers, kung fu versus karate. Like that sounds awesome to me.
Yeah.
And then if they don't give him, another cool matchup, but slightly less notoriety or whatever name value for Salikov, but him versus Easy D, Elizu Zaleski dos Santos, that would be a cool one because he's another one of the wheel kick masters. He's got the wheel kick KO over Sean Strickland, so
All
that could be
right.
a fun
Yeah.
matchup.
Yeah.
Couple of fucking spinning wheels in there, but yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to say on it, I see it. Maybe others will see it. Muslim Salikov is an absolute ringer to play the main character in a Russian adaptation of Abraham Lincoln's life story. I want to fucking see it.
Yeah, get him a stovepipe hat, walk into the cages. I just have to. I've been praising Bisping a little bit in this show, but I've got to mock him slightly on this one because he was talking about Salikov training in Colorado elevation. He came from Dagestan. Where the fuck do you think? Yeah, he was born at elevation. It's not a big hint. I'm sure it helps, but it's not that big a thing. It's not like he was born at ground level somewhere and moved up to 2,000 meters above sea level or whatever the hell it is.
Bisping gonna Bisping. Huh?
Yeah. It was pretty good most of the night, but
yeah, he's been.
I think he does quite well with Laura Sanko. I think those two go together quite well.
Yeah, she had a great moment in the Wong Tong fight when Fernandez sunk in that choke, or she had that moment where she was leading to the choke, and all Sanko said was mixed martial arts. Like, yeah, that's how you fucking do it. You mix the martial arts.
Damn straight.
All right. Well, After that, it was co-main event time, another venture into women's MMA, this time in the strawweight division. Brazilian baby shark Tabatha Ricci against China's Yan Xiaonan. Yan looking to bounce back from her title-challenging loss at UFC 300. Ricci had won 2 in a row, last tasting defeat against DangerMouse favorite Lupi Godinez. Obviously, some future championship implications on the line here in a fight that would go the distance. Mostly one-way traffic here in this one, though, as it seemed to me that Ricci did not possess the athleticism necessary to close the distance against Yan that Wei Li had in their pairing. Speaking of Wei Li, Yan would call for the rematch post-fight. Who knows if that's the move or not. So we'll do a little bit of matchmaking in this one. Danger, pull up those UFC rankings and put on your matchmaker hat as you give us your thoughts on this fight and who Yan Xiaonan should face next.
Yeah, I've got the rankings up, and oh, she's ranked at. I was just checking where she's ranked. She's ranked at 2 at the moment. It's either Suarez or another shot at the title, I guess. Unless there's someone higher up in the rankings that deserves a shot, and I can't think of anyone at the moment. Obviously, yeah. I mean, how long ago was her fight against Wei Li for the championship?
It was at 300, so I think that was in April.
All right. I'm not sure. She certainly looks good enough that she deserves another shot at the title. I guess maybe one more fight. I guess it would have to be Tatiana Suarez if she wants to solidify that number 1 contender position. Or there's Viana Jandiroba, another option. Andrade, I think, is probably not ideal. I'm not entirely sure why she's still ranked at 4, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I know you've asked that specific question there, but yeah, Xiaonan was just dominant throughout the entire thing. Ricci was never able to get anything going. It was that reach difference, I think, that caused a lot of the problems. And then Xiaonan's striking was really on point. Every time Ricci tried to step in and advance and try and get the things tied up so she could maybe grapple for a little bit, she was just met by a barrage of punches, and it was like, no, I can't fucking do anything. And every time she came forward, Yan was just able to reset her range. So she got it at the range she wanted it when Ricci came forward. And the other thing I'm going to point out, Yan was doing the Holloway point a couple of times. I'm really kind of wishing that people had stopped doing that now. Just pack it in. Yeah, it was great when Holloway does it at the end of the round, but stop doing it in the first round or whatever the fuck you were doing it in. So yeah, I'm sorry, I can't give a great answer on that one, despite being the self-professed expert on women's MMA, which I'm not, by the way. Yeah, Suarez
No.
or another shot at Wei Li, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you did a fair job there because I pretty much pigeonholed you because those are more or less the only answers, and that's kind of what I was wondering is, she's really only got Tatiana or Virna there, and Tatiana and Virna were scheduled to face each other, but then Tatiana fell out with the injury, so which
All right.
she seems to be perpetually injured, but yeah, I think that's kind of the obvious choice. She's got to face one or the other out of those two because I don't think that you can give her the immediate rematch against Wei Li, and I think Wei Li deserves a different opponent for her next matchup. She shouldn't have to face Yan Xiaonan twice in a row. So, what did you think of this scrap, Austin? And who would you give Yan in her next fight? Do you think Tatiana Suarez or Viana Jandiroba? Who?
She's not due for a rematch. She was beaten 3 ways to Sunday in that fight, if you remember. She put up a great fight. She was technically submitted, technically TKO'd, technically decisioned, and I mean, it was 5 rounds. She was competitive, but there's no immediate call for a rematch in my book. What you could do is, if you're looking at where the division stands, give Jandiroba the title fight now. If Tatiana is healthy, put her in the fight next for the title, whoever wins out of that too, because apparently we can't get her to be consistently healthy to even fight. So Tatiana needs to actually just be booked for the title fight next, if that's even a capability. And then in the meantime, Yan Xiaonan just fights whoever's available. Right now, she's got to win. She's coming off of a loss. Although it was a title fight, it's a loss. Very dominant one. She needs at least another 2 wins to have momentum to be challenging for the title next. It's not like Weili fights, 4 times a year. She fights maybe once if we're lucky. And on top of it, the division's kind of, in a state of flux. It just get 2 more wins. It doesn't matter if it's against another Tabatha Ricci. It just matters that she gets the wins. Right now, you need momentum. She doesn't have momentum. She's got a foothold right now. She's defended her place in the rankings. Get 2 more, maybe even 1 more. Just be next. Be available for fights. Because if there is an issue with the division right now, it is consistency at the top. And realistically, regardless if it's Tatiana Janjarova or Weili who's staying at the top, she's going to be available to fight whoever's there. So just get wins, have your name in the pot, just be consistent with your performances. As far as the fight, this was a step too much for Tabatha, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall from Tabatha's fights. She's like a lesser version of Tisha Pennington, and it's not so much an insult as much as it is like she's just very limited on what she does. She's not the greatest grappler. She's not the greatest striker. She's tough, but she's not. Her experience isn't that much. She's a good athlete, but she's just missing like consistency with her game plans. Like it just kind of seems like if I disrupt you, she can't figure out how to get past that third point. There's no counters. There's just I throw a leg kick, I move in. Oh, I got bopped in the face. Okay, now I got to reset. There wasn't any follow up or counters or solutions. She just kept getting outstruck by the better fighter, and every time she tried to clinch, she was finding it hard for the takedown, like to find it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She's just gonna have to be consistent in her next couple performances to even have viability to get a title shot. And right now in this division, just being busy means that you're available. And if you're available, you might get the next, call. But right now, that's not the case. I mean, it was a great fight. I just think that it doesn't do anything for either of them at this point. It does more. It would have done more for Tabatha, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
Yeah. At least it keeps Jan's name active and in the cycle of active competitors. It was good to at least see her get back in there because we ain't seen Wei Li and we don't have no idea what's happened with her for the rest of 2024. So they could give us
Yep.
some updates on what's happening with the champ. That would be great. But yeah, I kind of agree. I think Ricci gets far more credit than she deserves. Like she's not really anything special in any one area, and I think that she gets the push and she gets the rub for reasons, reasons that we don't have to discuss, but reasons that are evident. And she's okay, but she doesn't have a deep enough bag of tools to ever really be a true threat in this division. So yeah, she's kind of just a placeholder, which it is what it is. What are you gonna do? All right, now then. Time to wet our whistles with the real treat of the day, a bantamweight belter that was sure to deliver. Former longtime flyweight king Davison Figueiredo looks to continue his impressive ascent up the 135-pound mountain as he was set to take on fellow former champion in Russia's Pyotr Yan. No Mercy, who is still miraculously just 31, has had a rough go in recent times, having won just one fight in 3 years coming into this contest. His opponent Figgy, as I said, has been on a bit of a tear and rattled off 3 wins in a row since moving up a Division II bantamweight. Much like the co-main, title talk abounded in the build-up to this one, but who would come out on top? Well, after 25 minutes and 5 long rounds, it would be Jan seeing his hand raised. A real treat of a fight with some saying potential fight of the year contender. Don't know how you guys feel about that, but I guess it could be up there, at least in the talks. Interested to see what you guys have to say on this one, though, so let's get right into it. Austin, what did you think of this bantamweight main event?
We had high expectations. At least I did, and I was not disappointed. I can't remember the last time Davison was kind of put in a position where he had to kind of think on his feet. in this fight. Not unlike his performances against you know Brandon Moreno, but like in this case, it was like he pulled out all the stops. Like he tried. That takedown at the beginning of the fight in the first round. He looked like Yoel Romero in there, just fucking manhandling Jan. And Jan, to his credit, stayed calm. I'm pretty sure he had flashbacks of his last performance, which was, or I'm sorry, not his last performance. That was against Song Yadong, but against Merab Dvalishvili. 25, I think, takedowns, 50 attempts. I'd have flashbacks. I'd probably scramble and just kind of like kick and claw at this point, bite him if I had to. No way you're going to take me down. No, not today, Satan. But um, he definitely learned his lesson, which was you can't give momentum to certain fighters, and it's not that he does. He tends to kind of put himself in situations where he's down. What was the thing with Jan? He has to download data in the first round. In this fight, he basically knew what he was going to do right off the bat: defend the takedown and keep the fight standing. Don't get caught up in a firefight, and keep a consistent range. He did that. He did that to a T. Matter of fact, he even opened up a couple of times and had Figueiredo. I think he dropped him once or twice for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Figueiredo did nearly drop him towards the end of the fight. But again, this was a difficult fight that proved the point. Bantamweight is great. Bantamweight is on fire and always has been. And this was a perfect example of the elite in this division. Yes, you could say Jan was kind of looked like he was on a trajectory downwards, but his Song Yadong performance proved that he was still capable. Did we know how capable he was still? This was the one that basically put him back in title contention. He still needs one more. Who you put him up against is a different question. As far as Davison, man, with what he was giving us in this division, he was very limited in his approach, not very giving in a lot of aspects. He was very, very willing to kind of play safe, go and throw heavy hands when he needed to. As a matter of fact, he knocked down Chito Vera, and he also knocked down Rob Font, submitted Cody Garbrandt. Like he handedly won those fights, right? But this fight, he was given a whole lot of questions against a very elite fighter, and I think he had flashbacks of fighting Moreno, and you could see it. He was trying to goad him into fighting, crazy, putting at the ground like Mal says. Like maybe everybody should stop doing that from now on. But at the same time, this proves that Figueiredo is capable, but he's still limited. And if this was a setback, this was a good setback to have, because Jan was still ranked highly in this division, if I'm not mistaken. And realistically, this is a good thing for Figueiredo. If he had fought and lost the title fight, it'd probably be a while before he even gets that. He wins one or two, he's back in the conversation. This is a setback a little bit for Figueiredo, but not nearly to the point where he takes him out of title talks altogether. And then as far as Jan, he just needs one more, and he's back in the title fight come next year. This is good. This is good for everybody.
Yeah, it really didn't hurt nobody, win or lose, because like you said, at worst, it keeps Figgy's name in the mix with those top 5 names in the division. And for Jan, you're sitting pretty. Like, I do agree that I don't think it's time for a title shot just yet. I don't want Jan versus Marab again immediately, but yeah, one more. I think he's right back at that title shot. And I think if we're doing a rematch, give me Jan versus Sandhagen too. I'd like to see that one again. I know Corey's coming off of a loss, but I wouldn't mind seeing those two go at it again. They're in that same stratosphere. So, but yeah, man, Piotr looked good out there. He looked really good. His hairline didn't look so good, but he looked good. All right, Danger Mouse, give us your take on this fiery affair at 135.
Yeah, this was a fun fight. I'm not sure it's fight of the year worthy, to be honest. I think if it's that kind of, if it needs to be fight of the year, maybe you do need a finish kind of in the 5th round or something. I might be being a bit harsh, but it was a good fight, but I wouldn't rate it that highly, if that makes sense. Yeah, it was a good fight, as I keep repeating myself now. But Jan was clearly the better man in this one. There were a couple of takedowns in round 4, a bit of the wrestling and grappling, where his get-ups. Have you seen the videos where someone surprises a cat and he just leaps into the air? And that's how Jan looked at getting out from a couple of those wrestling moments. Looked fantastic. Jan was just stronger in every area. Figgy was unable to be dominant in any area of the fight. He did have plenty of moments, but they were just moments. And whereas Jan was clearly leading, as shown by the strikes that were landed each round. I think it was like in 20, 30 strikes compared to Figgy's 10 or whatever it was. It was very dominant. And as for going forward, I did look this one up beforehand. I guess arguably, I know we try and match loser versus loser rather than winner versus loser, but maybe a rematch with Sean O'Malley, and then one of those two can get another crack back at Marab. Other than that, there's Sandhagen. There is Sandhagen, but he's already fought Corey Sandhagen, so I don't see any reason for that. Marlon Vera, not really in the running at the moment. Henry Cejudo, maybe. I'm not really sure how much value that fight has. Yeah, if I was picking a fight for him, I'd make him fight Sean O'Malley again, because that was a very close fight. I know loads of people thought that Jan won that one, and then other people thought that O'Malley won it. I know when I went back and rewatched it, I gave it to O'Malley, but I could probably go back and rewatch it again and decide that it was Jan who'd actually won that fight. So yeah, that really seems to be the only route forward for him. Umar's lined up to fight Merab very shortly, I believe, and that leaves Jan at number 3 and O'Malley at number 1. So yeah, make them fucking fight again. Let's go for it.
I wonder, if O'Malley is healing up from that injury, that's a possibility. We could even see that maybe as soon as February in Saudi. That seems like a fight that they would put together over there. Definitely possible. All right.
You can't really go wrong with matchmaking at the top 10 of this division, honestly. But
Yeah.
there is that whole thing, like Mal said. It's a more favorable matchup for O'Malley because Umar is a more dangerous matchup for O'Malley. And obviously Marab, for some reason, is trying. He's not ducking, but he's very adamant that Umar is not yet ready, or should not be the next fight. And I don't know, maybe Lazy has more insight on that, but I don't know. It just seems interesting because he's the next guy. He's the next guy in line. But like at the same time, it's like who else would be next?
Yeah, Umar's ranked at number 2. He gets the next title shot. And there's no argument really.
Yeah, he was kind of the odd man out in our conversation there. I noticed that none of us really matched him up with Piotr Jan. We didn't even think that was a possibility. So seems like we're reserving him for a title shot, as it seems like the UFC is too. So
yeah, what's Umar at? Is it 18-0 or something? He's very up that way, isn't he?
Absurd. A typical
Yes,
Nurmagomedov type record.
perfection. Perfection.
Yeah, 18-0. I thought I got my numbers right.
The only thing that I really wanted just to add on this fight was just that Jan is so mean and clean on his feet. Like, he showed that he's still got the ability to be at least one of the best in the division when it comes to his stand-up and his striking. Like, that dude is so fucking crisp. Some of those boxing combinations, especially when both of them, but primarily Jan, started figuring out to use the uppercut and working that uppercut into the arsenal. Phew, I mean, he was lighting up, maybe just fucking lighting him up.
Yeah.
Still
God, it makes me wish that we would have had him versus Dillashaw. God damn it.
That could have been Dillashaw with shoulders. That worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Stupid Dillashaw fucking up his own career for a fucking fight that he only lasted like a round and 30 seconds in.
And now he can't
God
lift his
damn
arm.
him.
Yeah, can't lift his arm above his own shoulder now.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
but he's on all the steroids though, so at least he's got that going for him now. So yeah. Well, final thing I'll say on this fight though is just that this proved that the tiniest little gaps at the elite levels up there. I say it all the time. The elite levels of the sport, the tiniest little gaps make all the differences, because either one of these guys would have schooled any number of other competitors in their division, but against each other, that little bit of difference between Jan and Figueiredo led to a 50-45 performance. So when it's at that elite level, man, everything counts. Every little bit counts.
Yeah, that's why I can't really name it as fight of the year, because it's just so dominant, 50-45
Yeah.
on all three judges' cards.
10-9. 10-9, true sense of the form, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. All right. Well, last bit of news to cover from this card. Your bonus winners for the night, 4 people, each $50,000 richer. So let's shout them out. Your bonus winners for UFC Macau, Shi Ming, Muslim Salikov, Zhang Mingyang, and Gabriela Fernandez. All 4 finishers.
Nice.
Yeah,
All right.
they're all good finishes.
Okay, I've been waiting for this. Time now for the segment that nobody requested and nobody comments on, but we do it anyways because we don't give a damn. It's time to rate that card. Let's do it, guys. You know how we do it. It's a simple and brief synopsis of your thoughts on the event as a whole, including any fighters that or fights that you might want to shout out. And then we are going to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. Austin, let's kick this over to you first. Give us your thoughts and rating on everything that was UFC Macau.
Well, one, the fights were entertaining. I can't really complain. Two, it gave us 2 head kick knockouts, and you honestly can't go wrong with a card that gives you beautiful knockouts the way that these 2 knockouts did. And the main event was a success. I mean, granted, it was at like an odd time, but I also have ESPN Plus, so I'll give it a little bit of grace on that. I'll say a 7.7. Yeah, just flat 7. 7 for me. Solid card. Good fights, good knockouts. It wasn't super duper long. And the rewatchability on it is there. So yeah, I'll say a 7 for me.
Yeah, that's a good solid score. Good solid score. All right, Danger Mouse, how about you, my friend? What did you think of UFC Macau?
Okay, I actually got my score done a little bit earlier on this one. The fight I obviously want to shout out is Shi Ming defeating Feng Xiaocan by head kick at 46 seconds left in round 3, which is arguably the KO of the year. Maybe not in just straight flashiness, but just the damage that was done on it. I know last year we had the Bryce Mitchell knockout late at the end, which got really, really high rankings because Mitchell thought it looked like Mitchell was dead for a moment, and this was up there because Xiao Can had to be taken to hospital afterwards in a neck brace, stretchered out of the cage, and I've never seen that I don't think I've ever seen a knockout quite as bad as that one in the UFC. I did wonder if perhaps we were going to have the first death in the UFC from that one. It was that horrendous. Yeah, good card overall. I went through it and I did a fairly scientific result on this one. I scored every fight, roughly speaking, and then divided it by the numbers. So it depends how much Dave, if I can get him to chip in. How many decimal points do you want, Dave? Maybe he's not listening anymore. Yeah.
Oh, God damn it. How many decimal points? Under
No more than 8.
no more than 8.
Okay, I can do that. Let me count these up. Yeah, okay, 7.23076923. I literally added up what I scored each fight on and then divided it by 13, and that's the number that came out. So there you go. As scientific as it gets for me.
All right. I did not get that scientific with my score. Actually, I was pretty lazy with it, as I am with most things in life. Yeah, I mean, fun fucking fight, as you guys mentioned. The finishes, decent number of them. Shi Ming, man, my moment of the night, one of my moments of the year. Quite the fucking character. I'm not going to get into detail because she's been covered just about everywhere you can view MMA podcasts right now. But just a phenomenal story, a great character. Nice to see somebody come in with a built-in storyline and obviously some shocking results. Like you said, DangerMouse, I have never seen that. That was the first time I've ever seen anybody carted out of the fucking octagon. So yeah, I mean that alone bumped up my score, but it was a fun card overall, man. Just a good time. Getting up in the middle of the night wasn't really an enjoyable experience, but I can't complain too much because a lot of people do that year round. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Austin here. I'm gonna give this card a nice big
Generous
fat
note.
7.
Yeah.
I almost went 8. I almost pushed it to 8 just because of how much I'm enjoying Shiming.
Yeah, she's adorable, to be honest. Like that whole situation where she just kind of looks innocent and you realize that she just
And the
almost
fact
murdered
she'd
somebody.
really like to fight at atom weight as well. She's fighting at straw weight, and she doesn't really have the build for it. She'd love to fight at 105
Yeah,
pounds.
yeah.
So maybe we'll get a UFC. Yeah, maybe we'll
Yep.
get a UFC
Yeah,
activate.
She
well,
said
that might
Yeah, I hope so. To be honest.
that might be coming sooner. Yeah, sooner than later, maybe. We'll see.
that makes me think of the quote. What was her quote? I'm small in this division. I have bad eyes. I don't have enough testosterone. But in this octagon, I'm the boss. Well, you fucking tell him, girl.
Yeah.
Go fucking get him. I love it. I love it. All right. Let's finish things up. There was one upside to a card that was maybe less than banner on paper and some names that people didn't maybe recognize so much coming in. And that's plenty of opportunity to get into the odds and ends. So what do you say we crack open the refrigerator door, dig around in the back, and see what we can pull out for another batch of Lazy's leftovers?
Serve them up.
Okay, all right. First up, a litany of fight announcements. So I'm just going to rattle these off. Got fight announcements, rescheduled bouts, and fighter fall offs. Starting with the recently announced bouts, including Brendan Allen versus Fluffy Hernandez, Ismail Bonfim versus Nazim Sadikov, brother Gabriel Bonfim versus Renat Fakhretdinov, my favorite up-and-comer Fatima Klein versus the perpetually staph-infected Victoria Dudikova, and fight for Flat Earth, aka Bryce Mitchell versus Crone Gracie. So those are your announcements for upcoming bouts. Here are your rescheduled bouts. They include Ricky Tercios versus Bernardo Sopai and Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. Lastly, a bit of
God.
a bit of replacement news that likely everyone has heard by now. Nick Diaz out of his UFC 310 fight, and in steps Temba Garimbo to take his place.
Yeah, thank God Nick Diaz isn't fighting.
Yes. Thank you. For fuck's sake, what are we doing here?
I've said it plenty of times before. Love Nick's fights, but not anymore. Just retire, man. Teach jiu-jitsu.
You just. It's not like he's bringing in a bunch of new people with him. The same people who had watched him like 10 years ago are still watching or have quit watching. So it's like 20 years ago. Who gives a shit? Like it's unnecessary.
I gotta give just a quick shout out to the Ismail Bonfim versus Nazim Sadikov fight. I think that's gonna be a fun one. It should be all action. I like Nazim. He's a Ray Longo guy, so of course I gotta show him some love because I'm a Longo stan. And then the other one that I wanted to highlight too out of him was, of course, my other favorite, the Fatima Klein fight against Victoria Dudikova. Bit torn here because I like both of them, but I'm on the Fatima side, and I'm happy to see that this fight's actually taking place in 115, her natural weight class, instead of at flyweight. So
Yeah, I was gonna say. That seems like a good move for her and should have been the move she had to begin with, but
yeah,
we'll see. I don't understand why we are rescheduling Eric Anders and Chris Weidman.
I think they both
nobody
wanted to
asked for that
retire.
fight.
Yeah, I think they're hoping
It's
for
like,
a duo simultaneous retirement. I think that's what they're after.
It's a shame why
it's fair, I guess. I feel like you could have done. Weidman should have fought Paul Craig, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, that ain't a bad
It should have
spot.
been the one that we're scheduling now. I don't understand why we're not doing
Weidman
it.
didn't get his Madison Square Garden send off, isn't it? That would have been fantastic for him.
Yeah, true. He hasn't had the best of luck in Madison Square Garden though, so that might have worked in his benefit.
You would have had it. You would have had it. He could have easily beat Paul Craig if you poked him in the eye, but you know.
God damn it, Chris. All right, let's move along. Next topic, a couple of non-MMA fight announcements that may or may not warrant a mention. Signed and announced for BKFC Knucklemania in Philadelphia this January. Two former UFC fighters known for fun fights, the Underground King Eddie Alvarez will take on Lil Heathen Jeremy Stevens. And speaking of BKFC, Also swirling its way around the rumor mill, a supposed 8-man, $25 million tournament featuring plenty of potential names, the likes of Nate Diaz, Mike Perry, Robbie Lawler, and Ryan Garcia. Fellas, any quick thoughts on the Alvarez Stevens fight or on the proposed $25 million bare knuckle tournament?
Sorry, but I haven't got much to say on this one anyway. Alvarez versus Stevens could be entertaining. They both like to slang and bang, you know what it means. The $25 million tournament, I guess that could be entertaining. I'm not the hugest fan of BKFC, to be honest. It's a touch too bloody for my likings, and there's no MMA involved in it. It's just people bashing the shit out of each other's faces with their hands, which is not my primary source of entertainment. I get though that it's popular enough; people like it. So good luck to them all there. I hope someone wins a lot of money, and I'll shut the fuck up there.
Well, and like good for Eddie and Jeremy Stevens. Still continuing to find work outside of the UFC and whatnot. And then as far as the $25 million tournament, like why not just be consistent with the weight so that way you're not having multiple weight classes all kind of garner in and having to get multiple exemptions for whatever we're trying to do here. But that is neither here nor there. That is interesting concept. They probably have the bodies to do it. I don't know if they have the money to do it, which would be terrible. But then again, Connor does need a new endeavor, considering that he also owes $250,000, I believe. But
Pocket
that's
change for Connor,
for
though.
another topic.
Yeah, true, true. I mean, I think at very least the names they're kicking around for possibilities in this tournament are at least eyebrow raising. I mean, Ryan
Yeah,
Garcia
that's
in a bare
intriguing.
knuckle ring like that's a recipe for either disaster or fucking a huge payday.
Yeah.
And then Robbie Lawler was also another interesting name. I think he's a really good fit for BKFC. I didn't even know that he was still interested in competing, so to hear him brought up is okay,
Well,
Robbie.
I guess
Like
if
if that's
someone's
what you
throwing
want to do,
25
I'll
million in,
support
you
it,
might.
brother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll fight for 25 million.
Yeah, toss my name in the hat too while you're at it. Fuck it.
Right?
Okay, and then an ever so brief mention to these two. We don't even have to touch on them, so you guys don't even have to remark. But I figured I'd bring them up. A couple of reported gimmick celebrity boxing matches. One being the pairing of Love Island windbag Tommy Fury against the pudgy-bellied, pig-eyed Darren Till. And the other matchup, two legends whose better days and apparently better judgment are behind them, former foes and rivals turned friends, Rashad Evans and Rampage Jackson, have apparently agreed to fight again at no one's behest. So
Yeah.
you're into that sort of thing.
God, this celebrity boxing has killed our fucking appetite to watch older fighters fight.
Yeah, I'm not sure Till's going to do that well
It's
against
gonna be a
Tommy
train wreck.
Fury, being a genuine boxer. He has come out with that wonderful comment that if he starts losing,
It,
he's just going to kick him in the head, which would be hilarious, but not very sporting, I must say. And as for Rampage and Rashad, thank you, Rampage and Rashad. Two old guys, not really interested, to be honest. If they want to fight, good luck to them. I shall treat it with the same level of interest as I did Tyson versus Paul.
Yeah, that
yeah.
seems probably accurate. Yeah, even less.
I'd be more interested in Fury fighting Jake Paul, but for some reason, nobody seems to want that fight. I don't know. It just seems weird that we want to keep watching Paul fight old people, and yet the one guy who he did lose to is still fighting other people of not a whole lot of relevance. So I don't know. This is weird that we're avoiding that fight again. And then on top of it, it's like, hey, let the old guys fight. If it's they need the money, they need the money. But I don't care. I don't care. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I guess I'm glad people are getting paid, but I don't necessarily have to want, or have to watch them do it. So it is what it is. The last thing that I do want to mention, and I just got to squeeze this in. I know I'm probably the only person that watched it. LFA, man. LFA Friday night. Good God. They had an interim strawweight title fight between their interim champion, Natasha Kuzatina. She's a Russian, former Olympic medalist in judo, I believe, bronze medalist. So she's basically Russian Ronda Rousey. She's on her way up. She's been their interim champion for I want to say at her last 2 fights, maybe. So she's multiple defenses on an interim title. Shout out her and Tom Aspinall. Um, but yeah, she took on a Brazilian, Yasmin Guimarães. And early in the first, Natasha was deducted a point for a fence grab almost immediately off the rip as soon as the round began. Interesting situation and scenario because there was no warning given whatsoever. The referee deducted the point without even telling the fighters and spoke directly to the commission and the judges at ringside or at cage side and told them point deducted. So that was kind of weird. It was just like a knee-jerk lightning reaction that was kind of bizarre. Uh Nearly came into play because there was a moment where she was very close to securing a finish but unable to. So that point deduction could have played a factor nevertheless. In that exchange in the first, the Russian Kuzatina caught Guimarães in an armbar, a sickening, absolutely disgusting armbar, completely dislocates the elbow of the Brazilian. She manages to tough through it. All credit to her. She doesn't tap. But when the round ends and she goes to get up, you can clearly see that the elbow is entirely dislocated and it's sticking out of the backside in a very, bizarre, almost like dinosaur looking manner. The referee sees it, waves off the fight, hands up in the air, waves off the fight as she's going to the corner. I don't know if the ringside judges and commissioner and whatnot didn't notice it and the medical officials. But she gets to the corner and the corner manages to somehow reset the elbow before the next round begins. Referee notices that the elbow has been reset, and for whatever reason, the fight doesn't get stopped, even though he waved it off. It continues to go
Get
on.
the
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
out of
You
here.
gotta go back and watch this fight, dude. So she continues to fight for 4 more rounds with a completely dislocated elbow. The
Oh my
commentary
god.
commentary was I forget the one guy, I think it's Ron Crook and Kyle Bahayo of the Fighting Nerds. And they were saying like from experience that they could tell that the elbow likely all the ligaments in the elbow were torn because it was hanging on by nothing. So any type of jerk movement or anything that occurred during the fight, it popped back out. So she basically fought 20 plus minutes with a torn to pieces arm. So tough ass fucking lady. Credit to her for getting through it, but I don't know if that was worth it for the paycheck you were getting for that fight. And Russian lady, you are a sick, nasty, nasty woman.
Oh my god. I thought the coaching was bad in the elite level, but come on, it's a regional level title.
Dude.
The minute the dislocation happens, the fight should not be restarted no matter what. Like the ref has already waved it off. Just the fact that he can see it dislocated and the coach is like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll pop it back in." This isn't fucking like 1980s high school football, like fucking, Friday Night Lights. What are we doing here? No.
Yeah,
This is supposed to be the regional level. You don't need to kill yourself to fucking win here. You just need to fucking get through so you can fight another day. Come on.
yeah,
What are we
yeah,
doing here?
dude. The commentary was as confused as I was because they showed a slow motion replay of the referee waving the fight off, and they're like, "What's going on here? Like they waved this off. Why is this restarting?" Completely bizarre, super weird. It was in Brazil, so I don't know if it had something to do with the Brazilian commission being shitty, but yeah, if anybody has UFC Fight Pass, go back and watch that main event from
Well,
Friday night.
that sounds like it sounds like the coaches pleaded for the fight to continue, and because it was in Brazil, everyone kind of looks the other way because toughness is what gets everything passed over there, and it's like, come on, look out for your fucking fighter, dude. Come on,
It was
she's probably going to be out for a while, and she's probably going to need recovery time for the surgery anyways after that. So it's like you fucked her on the pay, and you fucked the team on the win. Good job. I hope it was worth it.
oh god, completely ridiculous. Not worth it at all. Disgusting, gruesome. Don't want to see it. Whatever. All right, well, that's gonna just about do it because oh, what's that? Do you hear that, gang?
So what's today's secret, Cocky?
That sound means that our time here is coming to an end. You don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here. So yeah, we'll be back at you guys next weekend. Not necessarily with a roundup, or maybe it will be a roundup. I don't know what the fuck it is, but we're gonna have some PFL coverage, and y'all better fucking be there, cause we'll be there, and DangerMouse will be hosting it.
Yep. I'm all there for Dakota next week. Unless she wins, in which case I might just crawl into a hole and refuse to come out until the next week.
All right. Anyhow, guys, that's it, and that's all from us for right now. But we'll be back next week. So until next time, don't put your stuff swigger in the Vatwasser.
Christian. Later, guys.
Later.
Oh, come on.
Oh my god. So many emotions to this episode. This is great.
Good luck finding all those fuck ups from me, Dave. Good luck.
You can keep my take short, or want to try to
I'm just wondering, has Shatry got a squeaky toy that's a duck now? I can hear it squeaking in the background. It should be a duck if I've got to buy him one.
He's half man, half. Oh, I fucked it up. God damn it. Jinxie
Get it together, man. You can do it. I do have to stop you right there. To all of our listeners, to have a happy Thanksgiving before we sign off.
I did mention Thanksgiving in the intro.
I'm retarded?